All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. This is DFS Army's pre-lock show where we are going to answer your questions. But with those questions, make sure you talk about like what website you're on, what type of contest you're in. Those are important. I have 3 awesome DFS players with me today. The GOAT when it comes to cash, Fling, but he's also a great GPP player as well. How are you doing today, man?
Good, man. Thanks. That's a little much to go, but I really appreciate it.
My God, you've won so much money for yourself and other people in the Discord. Like the screenshots speak for themselves, so it's not even too much.
Thanks,
Raz, I know you're also a great GPP player as well, but I hype you up too much. So I'm not gonna do that too much because I know you get a big head and you get cocky and you start saying wild stuff. How are you feeling about the slate, man?
I'm not too bad. I'm struggling mightily to pare down my quarterbacks, so I'm getting a little frustrated.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard about the Joe Flacco news too that made it a little bit more interesting.
No, I missed that.
Joe Flacco's starting is what Uppers put in the chat at least. So every time you think you know something when it comes to DFS, whoop, some new information comes out. And then Tattoo, I know I think you're dealing with some issues on the technical side, but you're still here and helping us out, right?
Yes, sir. Just trying to get this computer straight.
Sweet. All right. And then everybody in the chat, B-Dubs, who will be on the show next week. Can't wait. Good to see you all. And we'll go ahead and jump right into things. Yeah, McNichols, 4,500. Yeah, definitely is something we need to talk about on this show. Nice. Roger said, I'm going with Bucky, Tracy, Henry, and Barkley in my lineups. Any thoughts? Originally, I would have said that was wild, but at this point, a little bit easier to stomach. Fling, I'll go to you. How do you feel about playing this group of running backs? We'll go ahead and talk about running back too, like Bucky, Tracy, Henry, Barkley. I'm assuming I know Tracy's on the night game, right? Or am I off?
Yeah. It's looking like FanDuel. Yeah, I like that. I think on FanDuel specifically, a lot of people forget about the Sunday night game. So Tracy without Singletary, he looked really good last week. He's obviously a guy that they targeted. So yeah, I like Tracy. I like those backs.
Agreed. Raz, you're playing on FanDuel a little bit too, right?
I think I have 2 lineups or something. I mean, I literally have had 0 money on that site, and FanDuel's giving me tickets every week, so I've built up a few dollars.
They're begging you. Yeah, I feel like that's a solid group you have, Roger. Definitely not bad by any means, but there's a lot of viable running backs on this slate. Mark said, would you start Lamar as a cash game quarterback? Fling, what are your thoughts here?
Definitely, I think Lamar is the cash game quarterback this week. He's getting the most ownership. The game is the highest projected, one of 2 highest projected game totals. And he's actually, his fantasy points per game this year is quite high because of their defense isn't what it was last year. So they have to do a lot more. So I like Lamar in cash.
Yeah, in cash, I totally agree. Tattoo, what are your thoughts? I know you play a bit more cash, 3 max, single entry. What are your thoughts on Lamar?
I like Lamar. He's one of the only 3 quarterbacks I used. So I look for him to have some fun with that Commanders defense. So.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Torn, I hear you. Let's talk it out. What's the gross low-owned stack that's going to be optimal? One thing I will say, at the end of the show, we will each give our anytime touchdown plays, and then we will each give our sneaky favorite low-owned play. But this is a bit of a different question, our favorite low-owned stack. And so, Raz, I'll go to you first here. Who's your favorite low-owned quarterback stack? And favorite might be wrong word to use. Like Torrin said, gross, like just gross low-owned stack.
Man. Jeez. I guess, I mean, I'm, as much as I was against it in Burns' channel this week and how he's just ruining me, I have to, I'm pot committed. So it's going to be Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper again. I mean, 1.8% owned on DK. I'll take a shot with it because, I obviously think he has more upside than I would say, Will Levis and Spencer Rattler and, those cheaper guys. So unfortunately, I'm going there.
Yeah, I mean, we said gross, and you hit us right in the mouth with that. That definitely isn't pretty. Fling, what about you, man?
Are we talking low owned stack or gross low owned stack?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a difference. Gross. Let's say gross.
Okay. God, I think probably if we're talking gross, I'd say Spencer Rattler. It is gross. Honestly, the scouting report that I read on him, he's not very good against zone schemes. And that's exactly what Tampa runs the majority of time. They're a top 10 zone team. And it looked like they were getting some guys back. So it's gross. I think if you're stacking him, I think you could do it with Alvin Kamara, though. Kamara has the ability to take a screen to the house. So, and I would also lean Shaheed is good versus zone.
Yeah,
so
I agree. I think Rattler is very gross. His ownership is getting a little high, so not as low owned as he was on Friday, but still, my faith is not in Rattler. It's in Kamar. Tattoo, what about you? Gross, low owned, favorite quarterback that you're playing?
Let's see. Now that I've just got back up here. Gross, low owned quarterback. Is Justin Fields gross?
I mean, a little. What do you think, Fling? Does that count? I think it does ish.
He's 2% owned.
Yeah.
On FanDuel?
I like it, man. I just built the FanDuel lineup with Fields a little while ago. So
yeah.
The thing about Fields is you don't need to stack him. Like, you could just run him naked. So
yeah, I ran him naked.
I do still like him with Pickens, though.
Yeah.
Like Raz does in my dreams, naked.
Hey, Savage, appreciate the dono. Gents, I'm in a 5 lineup max tournament contest, and the optimizer's giving me 3 quarterbacks: Kirk, Lamar, and Goff. This sounds pretty bad. I am stacking. Thoughts? Raz, I'll go to you first, and then I'll go to Fling. What are your opinions on this?
I mean, I'm not like Goff is close to being removed from my list of quarterbacks, and right now I'm at 12. So I just don't know that I'm going there with the way that they've been playing offensively.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to use a quarterback in that game, just use Dak.
Yeah, especially like the 5 line.
So, so for me, Lamar and Dak, and then I mean, I don't know if I'd go to Kirk. Like, obviously, we know what kind of ceiling he provides, but he's not throwing for over 500 again. He's not going to throw for over 400 again this year. Is not really all that bold of a prediction. I don't know. I think I'd slide like Love in instead of Kirk, or I don't know, maybe even Fields.
Yeah. What's your thought process here, Fling?
I actually like it. I get Raz's points, and most of the time Goff doesn't get there, right? Because it goes to Montgomery, it goes to Gibbs. But when he's low owned and they have a high game total, that's like the time when I would play him. 3% ownership. And Dallas, I think they gave up 22 yards above average to opposing pass offenses. So the matchup's good as well. So I don't mind it.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say is I do have a bit more of a boom or bust type of mentality. That's why I played, crazy plays last week, and hopefully they'll work out this week. But I did decide to fade Lamar just because of his price tag. I think he has a ton of upside. And so for me in GPPs, that's just the way I went, was fading those expensive quarterbacks like Lamar and Jaden Daniels, and then taking shots on guys like Kyler Murray. I guess that's a gross one I probably could have mentioned for mine. We know Jair's a little banged up. I don't know if he's playing or not, but ultimately I feel like he definitely has the upside. I like stacking him with Marvin Harrison Jr., and then I also have a good amount of McBride as well. So didn't really answer your question exactly, but hopefully we gave you a little bit more additional context. If you have any more specific questions, happy to answer those too. Jay, what's up, man? This is going to be one of the final questions, at least for a little bit, that we'll answer around quarterbacks before we move to another position. Favorite single entry quarterback for the slate? Tattoo, I know you play a lot of single entry. Who's your go-to here?
Actually, it's Dak today, which scares the piss out of me.
As a Cowboys fan, you know firsthand how scary that can be.
So, but yeah, I'm just, that should be a back and forth game.
Yep.
And probably, unfortunately, Dallas playing from behind. But you never know.
You never know.
They win the games they shouldn't, and they lose when they should. So.
No, I think that's probably everyone's favorite single entry quarterback. Raz, Fling, are y'all also going there for single entry, or are y'all going somewhere different?
I mean, it's there, Lamar, for me.
There, Lamar. Okay. Fling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking the early only slate, right?
No, main slate. Oh, no, yeah. Jay's question was early. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think on the early I would go Jaden Daniels. He's getting like half the ownership of Lamar Jackson, and yeah, I think he's off to a great start, and he looks to kind of be matchup proof. So I'm happy playing him until we see otherwise.
Yeah. The lower ownership does help. I don't disagree. All right, cool. Tattoo, did you have any thoughts for the early slate single entry quarterback? I know you touched on it, but we didn't specify early.
I guess if it was, I need to look at the schedule. Early only, I'm guessing it would just go to Lamar, but man, like Joe Flacco is playing.
It does make things more interesting. I do think it's Dak or Lamar if you're playing single entry. For the early slate, a little tough because I'm not playing it, but that's how I look at it.
I like Jordan Love. I like Jordan Love.
Not bad. London or Reed, GPP on DK. Raz, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, I think it's London, but I mean, as much as I hate the Packers, I'm kind of coming around to a lot of Jordan Love, Jaden Reed combinations today. It's not raining here now, so I'm not sure, how wet it's actually going to be.
Yeah. I have some exposure to Love, but he is only showing up naturally. I didn't force him at all, so I'm still under the field a little bit. I'm around like 3-4%. What are your thoughts on the Packers today, Blaine?
I like the Packers today. I actually like Jaden Reed a lot. He was projecting as like the chalk, and then I think with all the value that opened up, he kind of dropped down a little bit. People are playing, more Lamb than before, and Amon-Ra. So I like Jaden Reed just because he's like Drake London is going to be the chalk, the highest owned wide receiver, and we just know how chalk fails, right, at wide receiver. So I think I would go Reed there.
I agree. I like Mooney almost just as much as I like London this week, which sounds wild, but it's true. And so that's part of why that conversation comes down to ownership for me. And so when we look at just that 10% difference in ownership between London and Reed, and then we're looking at building out a GPP lineup, assuming the rest of your lineup is relatively chalky, I like focusing on the lower owned guy who has just as much upside. And Reed is that guy on this team right now. So I would go Reed. Let's see. Favorite defense today? Xavier Beaver asked. Raz, who are you looking at for defense?
Well, I'm glad you went with me first because I'm just jamming in Tampa Bay's defense.
Yeah. Okay.
Why? Playing some Baltimore, but
Rattler.
I mean, just the rookie quarterback thing, right? Like Todd Bowles, aggressive. Been hearing all week how Todd Bowles has done against rookie quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's a great spot, and then I'm using some Baltimore, because people Jaden's still getting some hype, but they get so much pressure on quarterbacks too, and Jaden still is a rookie, so basically the two high, big time pressure spots against rookie quarterbacks, I'm all for.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The ownership is on those plays, but they make sense. What about you, Tattoo? Do you have a defense you like?
Well, I did like Tennessee, but I think I like them less now. I kind of like Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And,
they're definitely pricey, but I think Burns even mentioned him on them on the pre-lock show as well. We know AOC is not the best quarterback in the world, so yeah, I get it. Anything else stand out for you there with the Steelers? No.
On defense or?
Yeah, they're just one of the best. I get it. Flynn, what about you?
It's definitely Tampa. Other than the chalk defense, I was all in on Tennessee, knowing Richardson was going to be starting, but with Flacco, that definitely knocks it down for me a little bit. I'd probably, sorry, Josiah, I'd probably go Atlanta. going against Carolina. You know, they got some ball hawks in the Atlanta secondary, so
Bates,
pretty big favorites.
Terrell. Yeah, it could be ugly. Panthers are also missing their right tackle, so that's definitely a sneaky one. I think not too many people are talking about. I like the Steelers call you made, Tattoo. I think Texans, similar situation, playing a rookie first game in the NFL. Don't want to forget about that. There's quite a few defenses I like here, but then I also have plenty of exposure to the chalky ones too. I think everyone's a little scared to play Pollard today. At least I am.
Yeah.
But I have plenty of exposure. Fling, what are you doing?
Playing Pollard or not?
Yeah.
You know, I've got a lot of Pollard in like the small field stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the boosters and whatnot. But like in large field, like I'm definitely happy fading that chalk just because there's so many other running backs around, you know, similar price. And Pollard could get vultured by Spears and could kind of crush him. So I think there's a lot past to him failing.
What about you, Tattoo? Are you playing Pollard?
Yeah, I'm playing him. In my single entry and 3 max kind of stuff, I'm just going to go ahead. But like in the 150, I'm probably going to be field waiter under and go ahead and fade him there.
Yeah. I have around 16% exposure right now, so I'm under the field. But again, I didn't really do anything to force it. That just happened. Are you getting to Pollard much, Raz, or who's your go-to running back today?
I mean, I'm getting to Pollard just because, I mean, his role has been steady. Like, just a bunch of touches. He had the 1 week where they kind of split more. But even last time out, you know, a bunch of carries. Like, he's getting it. And to be honest, I like Pollard more now that Flacco's starting on the other side. Chance for, I mean, less likely that, you know, Tennessee doesn't have to try to score a little bit. So, I mean, and Pollard's been used in the passing game, you know, that's why. Like, so if Pollard wasn't used in the passing game, then I would have preferred Richardson on the other side. But so many touches, I'm completely fine. I'm just eating the Bucky Irving chalk and going overweight on him even.
Yeah, hard not to. Rattler is throwing 2 picks today minimum. I don't think that would surprise anybody.
Sure.
Let's see. Why does everyone doubt Baker? He's very consistent with 2 top 10 receivers. Anthony, I am with you, man. He is on my leverage stack sheet. I like Baker Mayfield today. I think everyone's worried about Baker, though, because of the matchup against the Saints. Not the best one for a passing environment, but I do think they'll be down. Fling, did you get to Baker today at all, or no?
My last run, I just got like 9%, which is triple the field. So I'm good with that.
Yeah. And you compare him with Godwin, Kate Otten. Mike Evans has a bit of a tough matchup. Let me double check. He wasn't showing up in my runs earlier today. And, well, he's in 1% of my lines. But I prefer Godwin or Otten with him.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Let's see. Looks like there's a few people who are starting to like Mayfield, Love, Dak, Lamar. All right, sweet. I think we're good to go. Appreciate you, Savage. Let's see. Roger said, I'm struggling with the Henry call. I'm worried he's not going to get there, but I feel terrible playing these cheap running backs. Yeah. No, it's one of those weeks where we have a lot of injury news and we're playing some pretty gross names, especially at the wide receiver position too. But let's talk about it. Are you guys getting to Derrick Henry at all, Tattoo, or are you getting there or are you going somewhere else?
Not getting there too much. I mean, God, last week, I think if he wouldn't have had that overtime run touchdown, he wouldn't have done shit.
True.
So, like, he hadn't done anything up to that point. But I'll have some. I didn't have any in single entry 3 max, but I'll have some in like this 150 run on FanDuel.
Yeah, I just strongly prefer.
Touchdown.
Yeah, I just strongly prefer Saquon Barkley over Derrick Henry, so it's hard for me to get there. But what about you, Fling? Are you getting to Henry?
I am in my Lamar builds. Like, my thing is they have a 29-point team total, so like one of Henry or Lamar are probably going to smash, right? Yeah. So just kind of how I'm building today.
Yeah. And especially like when you just look at the pay up options at running back today, you can tell it's not really Barkley getting the ownership. It's not Henry. Everybody's playing Kamara. Everyone's playing Bijan. So you're getting different by playing guys like Barkley, Henry, Gibbs, all three of those are guys I like, but I only forced exposure to Barkley and Gibbs. Derrick Henry, if he goes off, might be a tough day for me.
You want a gross running back?
Yeah.
I love Eckler today.
Eckler? Okay.
Me too.
Let's see. We're at Eckler, 5,600. Should be starting running back today, going up against the Ravens. Why do you like Eckler?
I like him, catching the ball out of the backfield. I could just see him and Daniels, just back there, a bunch of stuff out of the backfield, him at the goal line. I think he's got some upside for his price.
Yeah, making the Ravens look silly today. What about you, Raz? Are you getting to Eckler at all?
I'll use some Eckler. Kind of getting back to the Henry. Like, I apparently am the most confident on this group. Like, he's one guy that I am making sure I'm getting heavier on, far heavier than the field.
Okay.
And I do not have an issue pairing him with Lamar. And there's a reason here is 5 times Lamar plus one of his offensive players has gone for 53 plus combined points.
Yep.
2 out of those 5 times has been Derrick Henry. And those 2 times were 59 and 63 fantasy points combined. 2 of the other 3 times were Isaiah Likely, shockingly. But it's just Henry and Lamar can get it done together. Even though Henry is not catching passes, it's just that offense is just smash mouth, run it down your throat. And if we think, I thought the last weather update was windier, and we know Lamar's not a great passer anyways. So in that game, like, you could just see, more smash mouth football. And I don't know. I'm not afraid. If I can plug those guys in and you tell me they get me 59 fantasy points, like, I'll take that, and I'll worry about the other 6 spots or whatever it is on my roster.
Hey, that's a hell of a stand, Tat. That's a hell of a stand, Raz. That's a hell of a stand. I hope it works out for you. Anthony said, with Gus Edwards out, does it make Dobbins a must play? Fling, what are your thoughts here?
I don't think so, just because the Broncos defense is really good. It's a low game total. There's a lot of running back value on the slate in better spots. So I think, he's viable in the mix, but I wouldn't consider him a must play.
Yeah. What about you, Raz? Are you getting to Dobbins much?
I'm actually limiting him some. He's popping a bit more in projections, but like, the biggest thing for me is he just hasn't been explosive the last 2 games. Like, he came out of the gate just exploding, big plays, and all of a sudden the last 2 games it's 2.3 yards a carry and 2.9.
Back to what we're used to seeing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, after I traded Geek for him.
After all the time that he's missed, you probably expected him to be hyped for early on. But, could I see him doing it? Yes. Like, I'm still going to end up, maybe 10, 12%. But it's not somebody I'm super excited to jam into my lineups right now.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm right at field weight when it comes to Dobbins today. I'm at 15%, so I didn't really take a stand one way or the other. Kind of like you all are touching on. I'm not overly excited about the situation, but I didn't hate it enough with him being the primary back, or should be in this spot, where I'm okay being around field weight. Cubs, we can talk about FanDuel. Ask us a question about it, and happy to talk more about it. Flacco starting as Adonai Mitchell, playable in GPP considering Pittman back concerns. Raz, I'll go to you here. What are your thoughts?
I think I have 2% Mitchell, just on the off chance that Pittman's just active and then sees 5 snaps and that's it. But with Flacco out there, I really prefer Downs and Pierce now. Or before I was kind of off the passing game.
Yeah. What do you think here, Fling?
Yeah, I think he's kind of been the forgotten guy, right? Because of Alec Pierce. So, with Flacco, I think the whole plethora of pass weapons are viable. And specifically with Tennessee, Ladarius needs an elite corner. So he's going to take the number 1. That's definitely not Mitchell. So I think, he could pop. This could be the spot for him.
Yeah, not a bad call by any means. I'm not there yet. I still need to do a new run and boost up some of those Colts wideouts, but in my early runs they weren't showing up. But Flacco being in changes the outlook for all those guys. Still don't love it though, because the Titans have been a pretty decent team against the pass, but it's fine.
I will
How
say I
many-
just looked, and Pierce is getting like no ownership, so that's kind of crazy to me with him smashing like so far this year, back-to-back weeks, or at least 2 out of the past 3. I think he's got
He's
like
just
less
not
than
getting
1%
any
ownership.
projection. Like, I had to boost his projection a ton just to get him to show up at all. Like,
Did you?
I mean, optimizers and projections just aren't going to love him.
I mean,
Yeah.
but you think about it though, there's guys like Darnell Mooney and Jalen Tolbert right below him. I think that's probably part of it too, you know?
Yeah.
But still very viable at that super low ownership. He's worth being in the mix. Grim, what's up, man? Said how much Detroit running backs is too much today? Fling, I'll go right back to you. How much is too much?
I don't know, man. Like, honestly, I listened to Tournament Tactics and it got me onto them a little bit more than I was. I already kind of had them in the player pool, but they're not projecting very well. So, like, you have to boost them up a lot. And I've pretty much just been, like, forcing Gibbs, getting to some Gibbs. So,
yeah. What
I'm
about
not
you,
too sure.
Tattoo? Oh, Tattoo, what are your thoughts?
What was that? Detroit running backs.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I kind of like Montgomery.
Okay.
A little pound, a couple in. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope they
Got
both
that new
suck.
contract.
That new contract, extra boost. What about you,
I hope
Raz?
they both break toe.
Yeah, I'm using both of them. Montgomery's actually a core play for me this weekend.
Okay.
Just attacking that Dallas run defense, missing a linebacker, 2 defensive ends. Like, it's just a great spot for them both. I just like Montgomery's touchdown upside more. And obviously it plays off the fact that I wasn't a huge Goff fan early on in the show. Like, I'm using Goff, but he just hasn't shown a ton of upside yet this year.
Yeah, for me, I just boosted them both. I'm going to be over the field on Gibbs. I'm around 13%. And then David Montgomery, I just forced 10% on. So I'm double the field on him. Like both, like Gibbs a little bit more because of his receiving upside. But we know Montgomery has just been getting so many touchdowns so far this season. Everyday
You guys talked me
things.
into it.
Yeah, literally. Everyday things said gross is Kamani Vidal. He was a beast in college and no Gus to back up Dobbins, which is why everyone's playing Dobbins this week. What are y'all's thoughts on Kamani? I have no idea if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Probably most definitely not.
You are.
Tattoo, I'll start with you. Did you look at him at all?
I actually didn't. I didn't even look.
Yeah.
I like
What about-
J.K. Dobbins, but it's not the greatest matchup.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Raz?
I'm not getting there. Gus really had 1 week where he got a bunch of touches. Otherwise, even the last 2 weeks with Dobbins struggling, like Gus just combined for 9 carries in those games. So I don't really think because I'm barely considering Dobbins. Like, I don't think I need to also then consider Vidal.
Yeah, Vidal. What about you, Fling?
Man, I've got enough Kamani Vidal and best ball shares, and I've got zeros from him so far. So I'm not getting there today. I think there's too much value on the slate. I wouldn't go there, but hey, like silly for the millie, sure, why not?
Yeah, it's gross,
really
but like 1 to 3% is probably fine. I wouldn't go much higher than that. I have none, just to answer your question directly. Xavier, man, you are Raz's favorite person. Every week when we finish the show, Raz is like, we didn't talk about tight ends. I really wanted to talk about tight ends. And we really should have talked about tight ends last week because we all had a shit ton of craft. But we just didn't get to talk about it on this show. But let's talk about it this week. Raz, who's your go-to favorite tight end? Who are you liking? It's tough this week.
Oh, boy. This week I'm actually spread out far more than I have any other week this year. I really want to be super heavy on Bowers just because Vegas needs guys to catch the ball. But I'm also gonna go back to Kraft because I think people are kind of gonna overlook him now that he's up to 4,800. Just because Ferguson's 5K on DK, like Ferguson's getting, 2 to 2.5 times the ownership. So I think I'm gonna go back to Kraft. I hate the idea of chasing, a kind of fluke 60-yard touchdown, but obviously he won me a bunch of money last week, so I'm faithful that way for at least a week.
Yeah, you're dedicated, you're loyal, love the consistency. Tattoo, what about you? Who are you looking at?
I like Otten. I can't believe I'm going to say Zach Ertz.
Yeah. Those targets are there, man. It seems crazy after all this time, but here we are again.
Yeah. McBride, Bowers.
Okay, cool. I'll say for me, my top 3 are Ferguson, Otten, Bowers in that order. I have a lot of all 3 of those guys. And then after that, there's a bit of a mix. I even have a little bit of Kyle Pitts to get weird with it, but he's not even as low owned as I thought he was going to be. But what about you, Fling? Who do you like at tight end today?
I like those names. Definitely Bowers with no Jacoby Myers, no Devontae Adams.
Yep.
He's a beast. So I like him. And obviously Ferguson, I'm playing a lot of Dak, so I'm getting Ferguson naturally. Don't love like that type of play as like a one-off. I'd rather like pay down. Guy that I'm getting to and pay down quite a bit is Jatavian Sanders with Tremble out. So
yeah. On tactics, I was like
tight end punt.
Yeah, on tactics, I was like, hell no to Sanders. But once we got the confirmation that Trimble's out, I'm more okay with it. I mean, the last time we saw this situation was week 1. And granted, that was Bryce behind center. So we know Bryce sucks. So Sanders has a bit more upside in this spot. I don't hate it. He's shown up a little bit for me naturally, too. So, yeah, I think that makes sense. Let's see. I know we touched on this at the start of the show, but it's Tracy Jr. a good play? Tattoo, I'll go to you.
I think so. I like him. I have a ton of them in like best ball and dynasty. I thought he was probably one of the better running backs coming out of college. So I'm definitely using him. So yeah, I've been on high on him from the beginning.
On FanDuel, yeah, I get it. Pierce is a sneaky good deep threat touchdown guy with Flacco. For sure, Jason, spot on. John said, feelings on Daniel Jones versus Cincy defense. I'm not playing on FanDuel, so I don't have an opinion here. Raz, what are your thoughts?
I'm only playing light, but yeah, I'd have to be 150 plus over there to consider Jones in my builds. I'm just not. I can't pull a geek and just go with it. It's just not.
Yeah.
Not.
What about you, Flink?
But again, I'm playing Deshaun Watson, so maybe I'm the idiot. I don't know.
No, I don't. In this case, I don't think so. But what are your thoughts, Flink?
I'm not getting there. Not without Neighbors.
Neighbors, exactly.
Yeah, if Neighbors was playing, I'd be all about it.
Yeah, like he made Daniel Jones viable again. Without Neighbors, I don't see the point. Laporta still has 0 touchdowns. Do we need to worry? I think he gets in the end zone today, not going to lie. I have a good amount of exposure to Laporta, but I also am playing golf, so it happens naturally. I'm double the field on Laporta. I get he hasn't been utilized the way we want him to have been so far, but I still like the spot. Tattoo, are you getting to Laporta at all today, or are you fading him?
Let's see here. I didn't use him in any kind of single entry. And I actually don't have any in my 150 either. So I'm not forcing him in and he's not showing up. So.
Yeah. What about you, Fling?
I've got a little bit of him in some of the handbills, and I'm with you. He's just not getting a lot of ownership, kind of out of sight, out of mind. So I think he's a guy that you should get some exposure to. He's gonna. You look at like positive regression candidates, like he's got to be near the top of the list.
Agreed. Jason said, is anyone playing Mark Andrews being so cheap, or have we all lost faith? I just like Zay Flowers, and I'm fading Lamar and GPPs. So that's kind of the strategy I'm going for there. But Fling, I know you mentioned you like Lamar this week. What are your thoughts with pairing him with Mark Andrews or just playing Mark Andrews by himself?
I would play him only in Lamar stacks. I don't know. He looks dusty to me, man. He looks dusty. So
Yeah, it just has not been the same. What about you, Raz? Are you getting to Andrews at all?
I am. I'm forcing him in with Lamar.
Okay.
The targets were kind of there last week, so I mean, I'm kind of in the camp that there's going to be at least 1 week this year where Andrews, puts up 16 to 18 or something and is in a GPP winning lineup.
Yeah, agreed. Xavier, I do like Darnell Mooney today, but again, if you ask me a question about any Falcons player, I will say I like them. I'm even playing Tyler Algier in lineups where I don't have I'm blanking, where I don't have Robinson. Yeah, so I love pretty much all the Falcons today. What about you though, Raz? Are you getting to Mooney at all?
I do have some Mooney. I just started another run, so I couldn't tell you what percentage. But yeah, I mean, I like him a decent amount, but I don't really want to chase double-digit targets for Mooney. Like, that's the one thing that worries me, is expecting that again.
Yeah, I get it. Cedric said, are we okay with the Bucky chalk DK GPPs? Running back really is that position that's tough to really figure out what you want to do 100% for sure. Fling, what are your thoughts here? Highest owned running back.
I wasn't sure if he meant Bucky or the Bucks D. But yeah, I mean, I'm good with both actually. I guess to answer the question, I think Bucky actually looked like the better back between him and Rashad White. Yeah. And now that Rashad White is out, I'm all about it. I think it's a great spot, and yeah, he's a core play for me.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I keep going back and forth. The Saints have been pretty good against the run so far this season. The matchup isn't my favorite, but like you said, Fling, Bucky has been that back for them. He's shown some explosiveness. It wouldn't shock me if at this price tag, he really does come through. The ownership now at this point, though, getting close to 40% in DK GPPs is making me get the itch where I want to just uncheck him. But I'm trying to fight that. Raz, what are you doing here? Can you stop me from doing that?
I mean, I'm going nearly 50% Bucky.
Okay.
Just like Tampa Bay has shown that they're willing to get running backs involved. So if we would have talked a little bit more about Baker, I had written this down. Like, Baker plus somebody on the team has paid off GPP wise 3 different weeks. Mm-hmm. 2 of those weeks you could have included the running back position to get that 4x plus per spot. So even if Baker's throwing it to Godwin or even Evans, even though I don't expect it to be Evans, I still think Bucky's going to get plenty of touches. And I wonder if some of the stuff that people are saying about Tucker getting a workload without Rashad White might push people off of Bucky a little bit. So I wouldn't be shocked if he now comes in, not in a projection, but maybe once it starts 30%, 32% rather than 40. So I mean, I'm just going there. It's fine. I'll live with it. I love the pairing of him and the Bucs defense.
Yep. And then my guy JM, what's up, man? Said, what is your one core running back and how much exposure you have? For me, my guy's Bijan Robinson. Like I said, I have a ton of exposure to him. I'm at 50%, so more than double the field, and I'm comfortable going over that if need be. That's really the one lock and steady. And then the lines, and then I have Tyler Algier in 10% of my lines. So I'm pretty heavy on the running backs for Atlanta. What about you, Fling? Who are your guys?
That's smart. Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about Bucky a lot. I would say Bijan will be that other guy. Just think given the matchup, he's kind of underpriced. So, yeah, I like Bijan a lot this week if it's not Bucky, who's, my main core.
And then what about you, Raz?
I mean, it's Bucky, and then I have Montgomery as my core. I'm obviously playing both, but I'm taking more of a stand with the Detroit offense in the popular game. I'm going to look more towards Montgomery as a leverage off of Gibbs and even Amon-Ra.
Yeah. All right, Tattoo. Who's your go-to running back today? And
I also love Bucky, and I have a ton of Tracy.
Yeah, on FanDuel. Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what? I was hoping y'all were going to talk me into Bucky, but I think I'm feeling the opposite. I'm going to have 20%. I'm not going to go above that. I'll still have exposure, so I'll have some lineups that are alive, but I hate chalk when it's someone I just don't have the matchup on. Appreciate it, Sammy. I hope Buffalo comes through for you later today. Mixon playing. What are your thoughts on him? I know someone on Tactics mentioned him if healthy. I know it wasn't me. I think it was probably Bobby, if I had to guess. Fling, what are your thoughts on Joe Mixon playing?
I think it's viable. I don't know that I'm gonna really like force. I've hand built like a little bit, like a couple lineups with him, but yeah, I mean, as a low owned guy on a good team, New England, they give up like almost 10 yards above average to the running back position. So yeah, I think it's a good play. I think it would be a sharp pivot for sure.
Yeah. You know, I'm not one to shit on Bobby Wild's plays too much. So you're mentioning Mixon. He mentioned Mixon. Raz, should we play Mixon? Are you playing Mixon?
How about no?
Okay, good.
I just don't play Mixon. And now the old guy's coming back from an ankle issue. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I mean, we've been saying on the show for a couple years now, yes, Mixon can fall into the end zone 3 times. It's certainly possible. But I'd just rather put my ownership elsewhere at the running back position.
Agreed. All right. So, yeah, those are our thoughts. I'm not getting to Mixon today. Optimistic said, just got in. Woo! What are y'all's thoughts on Ridley and Hopkins against the Colts? Well, I'm playing Will Levis today. So, with that being a thing, I am naturally getting to Ridley, Hopkins, and a little bit of Tyler Boyd. But, Raz, what are your thoughts on Ridley and Hopkins against the Colts?
I'm definitely getting there. I don't really want to double stack Levis, but we'll definitely have them. Levis was actually my first hand build of the week. Was a Will Levis lineup. So, if he doesn't do it here, I can pretty much write him off the rest of the year, right?
Agreed.
I won't be pot committed like I am with Deshaun Watson at this point. Levis, I can do one and done. Even if he goes off here, I might just be one and done too.
Yeah. What about you, Tattoo? Are you saying you love him?
No, I was saying he was Rez's first love. No, I have a parlay for Levis to throw 1 touchdown and 1 interception. So,
okay, I can see that. Yeah.
So I'm not real high on those guys. Maybe no.
Yeah, I like the spot, to be honest. Like you said, the Colts defense is really bad, Raz. And for me, I only forced +1 in the domination station. Also, for those of you that do not know, DFS Army is the website we all work for. We use the optimizer. We're in the Discord. We have a ton of cheat sheets that give you a lot of information around who we're playing, who some of our sneaky guys are. So definitely do consider joining. Link in the description. Fling, what's your promo code so people can get a 10% discount if they join?
FantasyFling.
FantasyFling. So Fling, but fantasy in front of it. Easy enough. 10% discount on that. Sweet. All right, y'all. So, yeah, again, I like Ridley and Hopkins, and I like Levis. So, easy enough for me. Favorite quarterback in single entry. I know we touched on this earlier. I didn't answer this question, though. But, Fling, I'll go back to you. Who do you like here for single entries?
I would probably go Dak in single entry, just because, you could pretty much, if Dak is in the winning lineup, he's there with Lamb. So I like if I got one shot, Dak to Lamb stack.
Yeah, it's really hard for me not to play Dak there. If I'm playing in a large field, single entry contest, I'm starting to consider guys like Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, and maybe Kyler Murray or Jordan Love. But I think in general, single entry, you just go Dak. Let's see. Anthony said, best option to smash in Dallas game, CD, St. Brown, Gibbs, or Laporta. Tattoo, what are your thoughts here?
Best to, I guess I'd go with CD just because he is Dallas's offense.
Yeah,
and you don't know who's going to go off on Detroit. So I mean, just CD or the field, I guess, So
yeah, when it comes to Dallas, we know where the ball is going. They don't really have very many options there. Where we have the exact opposite option or problem with the Lions, where there are so many options who all have, in theory, a lot of upside. Do any of them actually get there? Is a viable question to ask. Raz, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, I think it's pretty clearly CD for me. I mean, for the obvious reasons.
Yeah.
One is just the fact that look at the names in that question. Mm-hmm. There's one Cowboy and 3 Lions. That tells you pretty much all you need to know. One side is pretty lopsided.
Yeah.
One
what
side
about you?
Then you got to guess on the other side. I was just saying, like Raz said, one side where they're going, the other side you have to guess.
True.
And see if you're right.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Blaine? Do you agree?
Agreed. And also, we got a CD yelling at Dak on the sideline the other night. Squeaky Will make his wide receiver one happy. I don't know. We've seen this movie before, and it normally ends with wide receiver smash game. So
yeah, I'm over the field on this game in general, but I will say I'm actually double the field on Amon-Ra, whereas I'm only like 5 to 7% over the field on CeeDee Lamb, and it's really just more of an ownership play. I think right now we have ownership being relatively close, but Amon-Ra's cheaper by 500, and his ownership's a little bit lower, so I'm just prioritizing him in this game, but I still have a crap ton of CeeDee Lamb.
And if you think about Detroit, we didn't need name.
What was that, Tattoo?
I was just saying we were talking about the 3 Detroit options, and we didn't need to include Monty and Williams. It's like there's more in Detroit than just those 3.
Yeah. Like it could easily be a Williams day, like you said, or anybody else there. What are your thoughts on Sutton today? Are you getting or looking at any of them playing? I know that's your team.
Nah, man. So if I was playing Sutton, I would play him on the afternoon only slate. I wouldn't play him on the main. I think that's kind of one of those plays where I'd reserve that for a smaller slate.
Yeah, getting a little cute. All right. Let's see.
I will say that Sutton didn't even make my afternoon only notes. I'm not even playing him on afternoon only. I just don't like that offense.
There are a lot of really good games in the afternoon.
Too unpredictable.
Right.
Fair. All right. Let's see. Do you guys like St. Brown or Jameson? I feel like that's not really a fair question, but in general, what are y'all's thoughts, Raz?
I'm picking Jameson. I mean, it's just an ownership thing.
Yeah.
Like he's been more explosive, right? Like St. Brown hasn't exploded for massive, but he's been 3 straight weeks of 20 or so, 20 to 24. Like he's been strong. It's just Jameson Williams is just super explosive. So add that with the ownership difference, and I'll take my chances there. Save a little bit of money. Allows me to get to Derrick Henry when nobody else is. That sort of thing.
And you can definitely beat Dallas deep over the top. So
okay. Are you saying you agree to Tattoo? You're taking Jameson here?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I guess the volume and everything is there in the ownership for St. Brown and, cash single entry, but I'm going to be over Williams.
Okay. Fling, are you going to talk some reason to us? Or you're taking Amon-Ra, right?
I will. So first off, I'll say I agree with the just leveraging ownership portion of it, right? But if you're looking at matchups, it's far and away Amon-Ra. He's a Cowboys. They play a lot of zone, and Amon-Ra is a top 10 receiver against zone. Jameson has not been very good against zone, so the matchup for sure, Amon-Ra. But if you're just looking at a cheap guy who's low owned in a high scoring game environment who has a high ceiling, be Jameson.
Yeah, I agree. But I still honestly, guys like Pickens and Ridley a little bit more. But I know that's crazy talk. Copy paste dates said I'm able to make some pretty cheese hand builds with Rattlers, Saquon, Henry, and CeeDee Lamb. That's why I like paying down at quarterback today. It makes things a lot easier everywhere else. All right. Favorite low-owned receiver. We'll get there, Gumby. We're almost there. Let's see. What's the projected ownership for Barkley? I love him today. I do too. And he's only 8% owned, or should be, at least in large field GPPs. And I will be significantly over the field on that. Anthony said, thoughts on Eagles? Can we trust Hurts not to make turnovers? I'm fading him. What are you doing, Fling?
I'm playing Hurts today. When Hurts has his full complement of weapons, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, he could definitely be the nuts quarterback. So I'm playing him today.
Yep. What about you, Raz?
I am playing him early only. I am fading him main slate.
Yep. What about you, Tattoo? You playing Hurts?
Yeah. I am not. Okay.
Nice. I'm with you on that one. We touched on Ertz a little bit earlier, Shane. Those targets, he's getting them. He's not doing a lot after that, but I think he's a viable tight end play. Tight end has been ugly pretty much lately. Soups said, if playing the Rattler, do we need a stack or will Naked work since he is so cheap? I think you need to stack him with somebody. At least one, ideally two, is my thought process. What about you, Fling? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can play him naked, but he's not much of a runner, right? So I wouldn't. I would stack him with most likely Kamara. I'm cool with that. A lot of dump offs I expect to go to Kamara today. Shaheed has the best matchup. Rattler did say that he would force the ball to Olave. So
yeah,
there's that too.
There's the narrative. And Olave is solo owned. You don't have to do much to get a little bit of him. So I like it. All right, y'all. Anytime touchdown props. Let's go ahead and talk about them. Let's think about your go-to going to get a touchdown today guy. Raz, I know you're always ready for this. So who's your guy?
Derrick Henry. I mean, it feels too easy, right? Just going to go with the guy that I love in a spot where I think they just run the ball a ton.
Yeah. What about you, Tattoo? Who's your guy?
I was going to say Montgomery, but I just hate to root against my team to win money.
Go for your gut. Go for your gut.
But Montgomery.
Fling, what about you?
Let's go with Hurts. Tush push.
Okay. Hurts. I thought you were going to take one of mine. I was going to go either Barkley or CeeDee Lamb, but I guess I'll go Barkley because you made it easier for me. I feel like that's hard to put in a parlay. A Hurts and Barkley both getting a touchdown. Not impossible. We've seen it already this season, I think, but definitely a little risky. All right. And then favorite sneaky low-owned play on the slate. This can make or break a GPP lineup. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Raz, I'll start with you again. Who's your guy?
I mean, I'm going to go with, I guess, unless I have to refresh my ownership projection, I'm going to go to Alec Pearson, 0.6%.
Yeah, I mean,
that just feels super low for somebody that's done it twice already this year.
Yeah,
right.
So if his projections or his ownership's going to go up now, throw DJ Turner for the Raiders. He's somebody that I'm trying to get a few percentage in. They're getting him rushing attempts too, so
Oh, you're trying. For me,
ugly.
he's just showing up naturally, and I'm just like,
Oh,
okay,
really?
I guess I'll take it. I'm not mad at it, but sure. What about you, Tattoo? Who do you like here? Low owned sneaky
Well,
play.
since Alec Pierce got nabbed from me, let me look real quick.
Are y'all getting a
Dallas
decent
wide
amount
receiver.
of Madison showing up? I have like 9% Alexander Madison showing up in my lines.
Oh, I dropped his projection even before I started running things.
Did you do anything to Madison?
I was getting like 5% of him in my last run, so I think I've got so many other running backs boosted up that I'm not getting much Madison.
Yeah, I might need to adjust that a little bit. Tattoo,
So
who'd you land on?
What's low ownership?
Like 6% and below.
Well, I mean, shockingly, I don't know why Dave Montgomery is showing 4% ownership.
Yeah.
But I was gonna James Conner.
Yeah, I have a little bit of him too. What about you, Fling? Who's your guy?
I've been on this one a little bit. I know Geek talked about it on Tournament Tactics. I like Amari Cooper. I think this is a pretty good spot for Amari Cooper. So he's 4%. Is that low enough?
Yeah, it's low enough. Between y'all talking about Deshaun Watson and now Amari Cooper, I might actually play a little bit just so I don't feel like the kid left out, not able to play outside. I'll play a little bit just so I'm invested with y'all. For me, it's Tyler Algier. Like I said, he's my sneaky one who I like a lot. And then there's some other guys like Marvin Harrison and Chris Olave, who I boosted up a good amount to make sure I'm almost double the field on them. So
I got one more.
Oh, who's your other one?
Devon Vele. I actually forced him into some of my lineups. So he played week 1, right? And he got 8 targets, and then he was inactive the last 4 games. But Josh
I need
Reynolds
you to tell me what team he's on, Fling. I don't even know.
He's on the Broncos. He's 3K. Okay, so don't expect a lot of it. Don't get a lot of ownership to him, but 8 targets in week 1, and then he was inactive the last 4 games. He's 3K. Josh Reynolds just went on IR, so I think he's worth like a flyer or two because he's
like a dart throw.
Yeah, less than 1%.
I actually have somebody from Denver as well.
Oh God.
He made my afternoon only notes as a complete dart. Is going to be Troy Franklin. I'm going to it's an outside guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Nix and Franklin have history together.
Yeah.
Oregon just peeled off a big win yesterday. It's kind of a little narrative thing, but he's gotten 11 targets over the last 3 weeks. So the targets have been there. Add in a few more snaps on the outside. Maybe I can see it as a complete dart. It's not something I'm getting more than 1% of.
I went from having 0 exposure to the Broncos wideouts to Bobby Wow liking little Jordan Humphrey to now Fling liking this guy I've never freaking heard of, Vele. And now I have a little bit of Troy Franklin too, because why not? They're so low owned. That was not.
Franklin almost caught a touchdown last week, so it almost hit last week.
It did.
Deep touchdown. It was like a 50-yard touchdown. He dropped it.
If he catches a 50-yard touchdown, that's 4x immediately on one play.
All right, Jason has a question. This will be the last one we look at. Second to last. He said, I keep flip-flopping on 2 guys, Ray and Bateman. I'm playing a lot of Lamar, but the target share for Ray has been crazy this season. Fling, who are you going to here?
Ray or Bateman? It kind of depends. Smaller field stuff, I would lean Ray because he's going to be higher owned, and the target share has been there. If you're looking for like a low owned wide receiver, to stack with Lamar, it would be Bateman. He's projected for 4% ownership. So, and Lamar's definitely targeted him a lot this year. He got a touchdown last week, right?
Yeah, multiple. Not last week, but he's been pretty involved in a lot of touchdown equity here lately, which has been weird to see, but true. I think you're thinking about it the right way. I think that's the right answer. Anthony said, on Sunday night, is Burrow, Chase, Higgins stack and play? It's just too easy. Yeah, for sure. I think that is definitely very viable as long as you can afford it. And then OK said, Mr. Torrin said, am I crazy for playing Brown over Lamb and St. Brown? Full disclosure, I have a Brown Barkley mini stack. It's definitely a GPP play. What are your thoughts here, Fling?
I like that. Brown's not getting talked about a lot. Yeah. Recency bias. He's missed games, but he likes to remind people that he's still really good every now and then once he's healthy. So,
what do you think, Raz?
I'm certainly down with that from a GPP standpoint.
Yeah, I don't have it, but I can respect it. Okay, Tattoo. Last question: Cooper or Pickens? FanDuel GPP.
I guess Cooper.
All right, sweet. Well, I appreciate you all. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Good luck. Make some money today. Let's celebrate in the chat. Peace out. See y'all later. Bye.
Later.